are some of the best-selling games ever? Do you believe in ghosts? And what in the heck does this ship have to do with video games? Stick around and find out as we break down the games that made a killing right here, right now on Filter. Question: what does this massive cruise liner have in common with games like GT3 and Half-Life? The answer is that they both made a killing. The video games, figuratively, as measured in sales, and the ship, the Queen Mary, literally, as several people have died mysteriously on board this nearly 70-year-old ship. And that's why we're going to be coming to you from all up over this big mamma jamma, counting down from 10 to 1 the most successful selling video games of all time. But before we do that, let's do a little bit of background research. What exactly does it take for a game to make a killing, and just what happens when it does? Perk up your ears.
To make a killing, a game really needs to be revolutionary. It brings something to the gamers that they haven't seen before.
You have to have the people to support the game. You have to have the people to support the developers, and they gotta, the game's got to be good for them to want to buy it and play it.
I guess it needs to sell a lot in order for a game to make a killing, and it's also a game that probably also puts the console on the map too.
Strong license really helps. I think some games sell really well because maybe they're tied to a strong license like The Matrix or Star Wars or something like that.
If there's one giant game that has a huge budget and lots of marketing backing that's going to come out, that will probably do better than everything else because there's really nothing else out there for people to put their money towards.
Video games are priced at $40 to $50, so people actually like to do their research in what makes a good video game. If you look at the top 10 list of video games, they're all great games. They're the all-time greatest games.
I'm here in the engine room where back in 1966, during routine watertight door drill, a young bearded man wearing blue overalls was violently crushed in door number 13. Since then, there have been many sightings of a similar-looking apparition walking these very halls. Of course, there have been far more sightings of Tomb Raider 2. Millions more. The second serving of Lara Croft Fun Time kicks off the countdown at 10.
One of the things that had the most effect on why Tomb Raider was popular was simply Lara Croft.
You got the character Lara Croft.
Lara Croft.
Lara Croft.
Tomb Raider 2 is one of those good examples of a game being in the right place at the right time.
The game was essentially a success because it was leading on from a genuine video game phenomenon, which was the first Tomb Raider.
The good third-person action adventure type, which you don't see too much anymore. No, Tomb Raider, good franchise. Plus, you got the movies back behind it. It's pretty good.
The first game, it was really one of the most original experiences on the PlayStation, so people wanted more of it, so it wasn't a surprise that sold.
Lara Croft is always chasing the adventure dragon, but fans of our next game weren't just chasing dragons, they were chasing Charizards and Jigglypuffs as well. Why? Because you gotta catch them all. At number 9 are Pokemon's Red and Blue.
Pokemon is just an incredible game. It's a well-crafted RPG. You have all these cuddly characters, and
that's just the media juggernaut. I mean, no one would have guessed that that was exactly going to happen, where this was just the next fad for all the kids.
With Pokemon, the reason why that hit so big, I think, wasn't just because of the video game. It was more the card game and the animated series and this onslaught of merchandising that was coming from Japan to America.
It's not even really a video game. It's just, if you put 5 people who are really smart in a room and said, come up with a phenomenon, they would probably come up with Pokemon.
It was really excellently marketed, and it was different. It had that hook of capturing the monsters, and
all that cuteness.
Let's switch from pocket monsters to pocket rockets with the game at number 8, Super Mario Kart. Mario and his games have always been a hit with gamers, but few have hit harder than this road rocketing affair with the Super Nintendo. And it's easy to see why. After all, who doesn't love go-karts, right? Super Mario Kart is rolling in dough at number 8.
Well, Super Mario Kart was one of the first great multiplayer experiences for Super Nintendo. In fact, some would still argue that it's one of the best multiplayer games of all time.
Super Mario Kart was, really fast, fun, easy to play, competitive. You just play it for a couple hours with your friends. It's just a great blend of intuitive gameplay. All the cars were easy to control. The track design was awesome. It was all the different power-ups and all the different paths for the cars. It was just really hooked people in. And in a lot of ways, that's really the best kart racing game to this day.
A game like that was destined to be a big hit, but not every title lives up to its expectations. When we come back from the break, we'll take a look at some games that were supposed to blow up, but instead petered out. Plus, we'll keep counting them down until we crown a king. Does Bond have a bead on the top spot, or will he be outgunned by a family of 4? Find out when Filter returns.